There was a time when America believed the bigger, the bolder, the better. The 1950s, the golden age of tail fins, chrome, and promises of a four-wheeled future. But not every car from that era became iconic. Some failed in truly spectacular fashion, from bizarre, head-scratching designs to million-dollar flops that broke down straight from the factory line. Today's video dives into 7 of the dumbest American cars of the 1950s. Vehicles that didn't just go wrong in design, but were flawed from the very idea. Are you ready to revisit the rolling disasters that somehow made it to American roads? If so, buckle up. Number 1. 1958 Chevrolet Yman. If the 1950s were the era of flamboyance in American car design, with tail fins, shiny chrome, and space-age flair, then the 1958 Chevrolet Yman looked like someone who showed up underdressed to a black tie gala. The Yman was created with noble intentions, to provide an affordable station wagon for growing families. But in Chevrolet's quest to cut costs, they stripped away everything people loved about their cars. No tail fins, no flashy chrome, no two-tone paint. The Yman looked like a dull stack of gray Legos. Boxy, flat, and emotionally vacant, it was a car that looked sad before it even moved. Inside, things were even more basic. No air conditioning, no radio, no faux wood trim. Everything was sacrificed for price. The problem? Even with all that stripped away, the Yman wasn't cheap enough to beat better-equipped wagons from other brands. Under the hood, the Yman offered a range of engines, from inline 6s to V8s, but none stood out. It shared its chassis with sedans, offered nothing new in handling or practicality. It was a car that worked, but little more. Its biggest flaw? No identity. In an era when cars made bold statements, the Yman had nothing to say. It wasn't fast, it wasn't stylish, and it wasn't especially affordable. It simply existed. And just like that, the Yman faded from Chevrolet's lineup. Today, it's remembered by few, mostly by historians studying failure. It stands as proof that, when you strip away too much, you might also strip away a car's soul. Number 2. 1959 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham. If one car embodied the over-the-top luxury excess of the 1950s, it was the 1959 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham. This wasn't just a car, it was a rolling statement of power. Towering tail fins like jet wings, a hood as long as a runway, a shimmering stainless steel roof. The Eldorado Brougham looked like it came from a sci-fi movie, with no budget limit. But behind that stunning exterior lay an uncomfortable truth. This car was too complex, too expensive, and too out of touch with reality. In 1959, it sold for over $13,000, more than the average house. But beyond the shimmering chrome and button-laden dash, what you got was a laundry list of technical nightmares. Its air suspension, a marvel at the time, was notoriously unreliable. The car could sag within months. The all-electric systems controlling seats, windows, mirrors, and even the radio were marketed as futuristic. But in practice, they failed often and were hard to repair. Instead of being a symbol of perfection, it became a headache for impatient millionaires. To be fair, the Eldorado Brougham was breathtaking. It was Cadillac's peak, a car where engineers were allowed to dream without boundaries. But without limits, the car exceeded human needs and forgot about durability, practicality, and ease of ownership. With few buyers, extremely low production numbers, and sky-high maintenance costs, the Eldorado Brougham quickly turned into a luxury disaster. Today, it's a prized collectible, but also a reminder. When you obsess over flash and forget function, you risk losing everything that makes a car valuable in the first place. Number 3-1953. Kaiser Frazer Henry J. Corsair. Henry J. sounds like an old friend, but in reality it was an ambitious and ultimately failed attempt by a small automaker trying to survive against Detroit's Big Three. Kaiser Frazer, a post-Wubby underdog, built the Henry J as a true budget car, compact, bare-bones, and cheap to manufacture. Their thinking? If we strip out enough features, we can sell a brand new car for almost the price of a used one. A bold strategy. But they forgot one critical truth. People don't just want cheap, they want to feel respected. The Henry J lacked almost everything. No external trunk access. You had to fold the rear seats to reach your luggage. No glove box, no armrests, no sun visor for the passenger. Some early models didn't even have roll-down windows, just a fixed pane of glass. By 1953, Kaiser launched the Corsair edition, trying to rebrand the Henry J with shiny chrome, nicer fabric interiors, and glossy dash paint. But a fancier shell couldn't hide the bare-bones reality. The frame remained stubby and awkward. The design felt unbalanced. Under the hood, the modest 4- or 6-cylinder engine sipped gas efficiently, but lacked any driving excitement. The Henry J didn't feel like a car, more like a transportation appliance. The fatal flaw? Price. While affordable, it wasn't that much cheaper than a Ford or Chevrolet, companies that offered better-looking, better-equipped cars. As a result, the Henry J landed in a no-man's land, not cheap enough to win bargain hunters and not good enough to steal mainstream buyers. By 1955, the Henry J and the Kaiser Frazer brand had both disappeared from the American auto landscape. Today, the Henry J Corsair survives only as a reminder. Cheap doesn't mean bad, but cheap without dignity? That's a recipe for failure. Number 4-1951 Crossley Hot Shot. It looked like a toy. But the 1951 Crossley Hot Shot was once hailed as America's first true post-war sports car. It came from the mind of Powell Crossley Jr., a business genius known for budget radios and refrigerators. His logic was simple. If I could bring appliances to every American home, why not a sports car? The idea sounded promising. A small, affordable, fun-to-drive roadster for the everyday person. But in reality, the Hot Shot became a classic example of how romantic ideas often clash with harsh engineering truths. Barely 10 feet long, weighing just 1,100 pounds, and it had no doors. Getting in meant climbing over the sides. No roof, no proper windshield, no heater. This was a car built for the bold, in every sense. Under the hood, a tiny 724 cubic centimeter 4-cylinder engine, pushing out just 26.5 horsepower. Laughable today, but thanks to its light weight, the Hot Shot could still reach around 70 miles per hour. On twisty back roads, that made for a spirited drive. But on the highway? Pure terror. Build quality was another downfall. The steel body was prone to rust, and many Hot Shots fell apart within just a few years. With no side windows, no trunk, and no creature comforts at all, not even a glove box, owning one required real sacrifice. And yet, Crossley was bold. They dared to be different. The Hot Shot even pulled off a shock victory, winning the Index of Performance at the 1950 Sebring 6-hour. A stunning feat for a car with the power of a lawnmower. Today, the Hot Shot is remembered as a quirky, fascinating footnote in American car history. A reminder that innovation is good, but only if it doesn't leave you stranded on the side of the road. Number 5. 1955. Packard Clipper. Once upon a time, Packard was the symbol of American luxury. Their slogan, "Ask the man who owns one," wasn't just marketing, it was pride. Owning a Packard meant you belonged to the elite. But by the mid-1950s, fierce competition, pricing pressure, and a shifting market cornered Packard. In a bid to reclaim market share, they introduced the Clipper, a model designed to keep Packard's prestige while appealing to the growing middle class. It sounded smart on paper, but in reality, the Clipper blurred everything Packard once stood for. Its design wasn't bad, just too conservative. While Cadillac, Lincoln, and Chrysler were pushing bold fins, flashy chrome, and radical lines, the Clipper looked safe. Not bold enough to woo new buyers, and not glamorous enough to retain the old guard. Technically, the Clipper had a strong V8, a solid frame, and features like power-adjustable seats. But its ride and interior? Just average. It didn't scream Packard. It whispered generic luxury. Its biggest flaw was market positioning. A luxury car for less sounds appealing. But in practice, wealthier buyers didn't see it as luxurious enough, and value-focused shoppers stuck with Ford or Chevy for lower prices and fresher looks. The Clipper landed in no man's land, a car no one truly wanted. The result was predictable: weak sales and a damaged brand image. Within just a few years, Packard merged with Studebaker, and by 1958, the name was gone. The Clipper, though not a bad car, became an accidental traitor to its legacy, driving the final nail into the brand's coffin. Number 6. 1957 Ford Edsel. Some cars fail because of poor engineering, but the Edsel, it failed because of overhype. Ford poured tens of millions into creating the Edsel, a brand-new sub-brand meant to sit between Ford and Mercury. They launched an unprecedented market research campaign, convinced they had pinpointed what American drivers truly wanted. But reality proved something else. No amount of research could save a car that was visually odd and technically overcomplicated. The design sparked controversy from day one. That upright, oval-shaped grille? Critics dubbed it a toilet seat. While Chevy and Cadillac embraced sleek, futuristic styling, the Edsel looked like it was stuck in design limbo, both outdated and awkwardly modern at once. But it wasn't just looks. The Edsel came loaded with advanced features: a push-button transmission located in the center of the steering wheel, self-adjusting brakes, a rotating speedometer. Cool on paper, but in practice, confusing, fragile, and prone to failure. Then came the worst timing imaginable. Edsel launched in 1957, right as America slid into a recession. A brand-new car with a high price tag and a complicated feature set? Buyers weren't convinced. Worse still, early Edsels were plagued by quality control issues. Misaligned doors, sloppy panel fits, dashboards that didn't line up. For a brand no one had ever heard of, there was no goodwill to soften the blow. Ford tried everything: price cuts, fewer trim levels, streamlined marketing, but it was too late. Edsel became a punchline, a $250 million disaster and a public embarrassment for Ford. Yet, in hindsight, Edsel wasn't completely useless. Some of its innovations lived on, refined in later models. But it left behind a painful lesson: never overpromise, over-engineer, and expect the market to just get it. Today, the Edsel is a collector's oddity, beloved by those who find beauty in failure. It's a reminder that sometimes the biggest mistakes come not from bad ideas, but from the arrogance of those behind them. Number 7. 1954 Hudson Jet. Hudson was once a NASCAR hero, with the legendary Hornet dominating early 1950s racing. But just a few years later, the Hudson Jet would become the car that dragged the company toward collapse. The Jet was born out of fear. Ford and GM were gobbling up the market, and Hudson's answer was a compact, affordable car to compete in the lower segment. The idea wasn't wrong, but the execution was a total misfire. Design-wise, the Jet was tragically dull. At a time when curves, tail fins, and futuristic flair were in, the Jet was boxy, tall, and awkward, like it was designed in 1945. Buyers were instantly turned off by its outdated looks. Performance? Equally forgettable. A 3.3-liter inline-six offered decent power, but lacked excitement or standout efficiency. And for a car marketed as the smart family choice, interior space was oddly cramped, especially in the back seat. A deal-breaker. But the fatal blow came financially. Hudson bet everything on the Jet, building a new platform and production line. When sales flopped, there was nothing left in reserve. In 1954, Hudson was forced to merge with Nash, creating American Motors Corporation AMC. The Jet became the symbolic end of Hudson as an independent automaker. The Jet wasn't the worst car ever made, but it's a textbook case of strategic failure, focusing too hard on the business goal while forgetting the user experience. Customers don't buy good intentions. They buy what works and what inspires. Today, the Hudson Jet is a cautionary tale for anyone in the auto industry. If you were once a market leader, never release a product that feels like a compromise. Because the market, it rarely offers second chances. Every car on today's list carried ambition, innovation, and mistakes that couldn't be undone. From the bold Crossley Hot Shot to the overconfident Ford Edel and the lavishly misguided Cadillac Eldorado Brougham. These weren't failures of effort. They were failures of forgetting the one thing that matters. Drivers don't buy dreams. They buy experience. If you found these stories fascinating, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And join us as we uncover more untold tales from the wild world of automotive history. Have you ever seen any of these cars in real life? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your story.